It's time for me to back up some claims I made in the previous video. So today, we're talking cell phones. Specifically, one cell phone.
Yo, watching out for Daddy. Hey, that's my dad.
Hey there, welcome to Aphrodaddy. So a few weeks ago, I released a video where I was talking about what kind of phones parents should be getting. I'll put a link to it in the description. And I was really looking at whether or not parents should get the flagship phones, the really expensive iPhones and Samsungs and Huawei's and all these other phones that cost like 30,000 Rand and sometimes even more. And the main point at the end of that was, unless you're a content creator that really needs a good camera on the go and needs all of that speed and RAM and processing power, it's really just a waste of money. And considering how good mid-tier phones are getting, looking at a lower level, you could still get the same experience without spending all of that kind of money. One of the final points I made was that we need to be keeping an eye on this space because there are going to be a lot more mid-tier good phones coming into the country that might be a really viable option for parents. And I think today I have one of those phones. In fact, it hasn't even been launched in the country yet, so this is a bit of a sneak peek, but it is the Tecno Spark 5. So maybe you're just like me and you haven't really heard of Tecno or the Tecno Spark before. Apparently they've been around the world for, the last decade or 15 years or something. So they just haven't been in South Africa. So I didn't really know what to expect from this phone, but now I've used it for a few days. I've got a really good feel for it and it's a bit of a mixed bag. So I could throw out a bunch of numbers to you about all the specifications, about the camera size and the kind of processor it has and the amount of RAM that it has. But knowing the kind of audience that I have, knowing you guys as well as I do, I know that we don't really care too much about that. We just want to know, does it work and how does it feel to use? So here's a couple of things you need to know. Number one, the build is kind of plasticky. There's no glass in it, which for a lot of people might say, oh, that's not very premium. I like phones to feel nice and have glass backs and all this kind of thing. But the thing about glass backs is that it breaks. It cracks, it smashes super easily. Plastic, like this, easy to replace, and is also a lot more durable. So here's an example of something that would have happened to every parent since smartphones were invented. You put your phone on a table, your toddler comes along and says, ooh, that's the thing that mom and dad like to play with. They grab it, but they haven't quite got the grip yet, so they slide it off, hits the ground. This plastic back isn't going to splinter and crack in the way that glass would, obviously. When it comes to actually using the phone, unfortunately the processor isn't very fast. It doesn't come with a lot of onboard RAM. It does have 32 gigs of memory on board, so that's enough to store quite a few photos and videos. But that all kind of means that it does get a little bit sluggish if you're jumping from app to app to app in the way that I use my phone. But if you are a normal user, someone who messages occasionally, someone who maybe goes on social media occasionally, someone who maybe sends an email now and then and maybe takes the occasional photo and video, this does the job fine. One thing that everyone obviously wants to know is, what about the cameras? Does it take good photos? And yeah, it takes okay photos. It's not going to, be as crisp and amazing as the new iPhone or the new Samsung, but for this kind of mid-tier phone, it does the job. And if you're the kind of person that's in the market for this kind of phone, you're not wanting to get the highest resolution, most amazing picture. You just want to be able to capture some memories. And this is good for capturing some memories. Also, one of the other great things about this phone, it has an earphone jack. You have no idea how important it is for me to have a phone with an earphone jack. There are so many times when I have to use that for a microphone or for some other input, or just I can't find Bluetooth earphones, but I can find a cheap pair of wired earphones that use that port. Phone companies, this costs you nothing to put in there. Just leave it in. The one thing I didn't really like is the Hi OS. It's the operating system that they kind of put over Android. So it still works like an Android phone, like any other Android phone that you're used to using. It just has one or two little things that are really kind of annoying. So for instance, there's things that you can't move or delete. And one of the things I've always liked about Android phones is that I have complete control over my home screen. So there shouldn't be any search bars that I can't remove. In this case, there is one. In addition to that, some of their automatic searches and the screens that come up have advertising on them. I don't want to have ads on my phone. I don't want to have ads on my home screen at any point. I understand that there have to be ads in the apps that I use, but not on the standard operating system of the phone. That was not cool. Also, for some reason, I couldn't really find a quick way to change the phone from noisy ringer to vibrate to silent. And that's what I found strange, because I thought that is a setting that everyone uses all the time. You know, you're going into a meeting, you want to put it to silent very quickly, or you're going into a movie theater, you want to turn over to vibrate to make sure you don't miss a particular message from the babysitter, or you're putting your phone far away from you and you want to make sure you can hear it, so you put the ringer up as loud as it can go. That should be a fairly easy thing to access. I'm not sure if there is a way to access it, and I haven't found it yet. That could very well be the case. Right, I spoke about some of the things that are really annoying about the Tecno Spark 5, but here's the most important thing you need to know about this phone. It costs 3,000 Rand. So for 3,000 Rand, you're going to get a phone with a decent camera system on it, you get 32 gigs of memory, and it's a usable phone that anyone can use as a daily driver. Plus, that introductory special of 3,000 Rand includes these Bluetooth earphones, which is pretty nifty. If you don't have them yet and you kind of want to get into it, these are also good. They're a lot like the phone. They do the job. They're not the best in the world, but they're pretty good and you'll enjoy having them around. So the final question really is, who is this phone for? And really the answer to that is anyone. If you aren't desperately in need of a super fast phone and you don't particularly love having the greatest, most expensive technology, this phone will suit you. In fact, I think one of the best use cases for the Tecno Spark 5 is as a first phone for a high school kid, because A, it's not too expensive, so if they lose it or break it, it's not the complete end of the world. It's still pretty bad because it's 3,000 Rand, but it's not 30,000 Rand that's being lost. Plus, it gives them access to all the things that kids need these days. They won't be able to fill it up with all sorts of apps. They'll have to choose which apps they want to use because it's not a huge phone, but they can take photos, they can take videos, they can use it for their creative work, they can use it to answer emails and do their schoolwork if they need access to a phone. It ticks all of those boxes. So if you want to start teaching your kid about how to be responsible around one of these, this is a great place to start. So can I recommend this phone for parents? Yes and no. Look, if you're the kind of person that needs to be doing a lot of work really fast and needs a lot of processing power, this is not the phone for you. But if you're someone who just wants to have something that can take phone calls, that can send and receive some pictures and some videos, and can do a little bit of social media stuff without breaking the bank, this is then the phone for you. This is the guy. If you want to find out more about the Tecno Spark 5, I'm going to put a link to their website below. Also, there's a bunch of information there about how you can win data and airtime and some awesome prizes. The biggest one is 25,500 Rand, which is awesome. So that's all going to be in the link below. Go check it out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll catch you soon. Aphrodite out.
You're watching Aphrodite. Hey, that's my dad.